right. Oh, don't touch the mic. Don't touch the mic. I'm Michael Poole. I have the distinct honor of being the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce here in McKinney this year. And I have the privilege of introducing our speakers. Dr. Neil Matkin, the president of Collin College, was unable to attend today due to family commitments, but we have here today, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Brenda Keel. Dr. Keel is Collin College's executive vice president. In this role, she's responsible for the campuses and academic programs of the district. In her 15 years at Collin College, Dr. Keel has held positions of oversight of compliance with regional accreditation, institutional research, academic partnerships, civil engagement, and workforce development. She's also spearheaded numerous innovative initiatives for Collin College, including the development of the Collin College Higher Education Center. Dr. Keel currently serves on the North Central Texas Workforce Commission on their board of directors and is an ex officio member of the Frisco Chamber of Commerce. Prior to working at Collin College, she was a laboratory research scientist and a secondary math and science teacher. She is a Golden Gopher. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in genetics and cell biology and her Master's of Education in teaching from the University of Minnesota. Did I get that right? Okay. And her doctorate is in public affairs from the University of Texas at Dallas. I'd like you to help me welcome Dr. Keel.
Thank you for the introduction, and actually I spent the weekend in Minnesota, so my accent comes back pretty quick. No, just kidding. But I do want to extend the regrets of Dr. Matkin. He was not able to attend today, but he is our new president. He's been with the college now for 7 months and has hit the ground running. A lot of us at Collin are just trying to keep up with him and his innovative ideas that are really going to position Collin College to best serve all the students throughout the county. So today I'm going to share with you kind of the past, the present, and some of the future of Collin College. And I'm going to start because this year celebrates a very important year for Collin. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary. And McKinney plays a very important part of our history because McKinney is the location of our very first campus. And this is a picture. It's a little bit different, unique by nature, kind of overgrown. But this building, I don't know if you can see the signage, but this was called the Osmond Plaza. It was owned by the Osmond family of Donnie and Marie fame. We purchased this back in 1985, and fast forward 30 years, and this is what that same site looks like today. This photo was taken on April 6th of 2015. That is our Founders Day for Collin College. That is the day that the Collin County voters approved to create a community college specifically for Collin County. And in that fall of 1985, 1,500 students were enrolled in credit classes at Collin College. And over the course of time, we have increased our student enrollment in this past academic year. In taking both credit and continuing education classes, Collin College has served over 52,000 students. So we too have come a long way in our 30 years. But more of a recent history, the next photo shows what Collin College's Central Park campus here in McKinney looked like in 2005. So that's just 10 years ago. We still have the same building. That Osmond Plaza, which is now our Central Park campus, was renovated for classrooms and office spaces for our students and faculty. Very barren. We see a lot of blank slate there. But this is at the corner of 75 and 380. I'm sure you know where that is. Go to the next photo, and this is what it looks like today. It is filled in with retail. It is filled in with our buildings on our campus. In that 10 years, we have added a 74,000 square foot library and classroom building, added on to the original building, renovated space, and then also added a parking garage. So in just the last 10 years, that Central Park campus has increased in enrollment by 277%. So this fall, we are serving over 4,600 students just at this campus in McKinney. But we're not finished. We are also under construction are 2 additional buildings. The next photo shows our conference center, which we had a ribbon cutting back in September. This is a great facility because as we grow as an institution and a campus, we have 4,000 students that want to attend events and activities on campus, so we don't have a space that we can accommodate, but this new conference center will. It has enough room to fit theater style about 1,000 individuals, so we can definitely have some larger events at this site. And sitting in rounds like we have here, about 640 individuals would be able to fit in that space. And we can subdivide it for multiple meetings. And when we're not using it as an institution for our students and our faculty, that we do have the community come in and use our facilities as well. So the next building that is currently under construction is the Carrie A. Israel Health Sciences Center. This is a rendering of it, and it is named after Dr. Israel, who was our previous college president, and he retired last year, and our board of trustees graced this building with his name because of the additional, or all the, everything that he did to help design and build this building. Health science was very important to President Israel. This building is going to be 3 stories tall. We will open it in January. It is going to be a premier facility and a hub for training in health sciences for our region. Many of the spaces in the building, the labs, will model what our students will see when they go out into the workforce and work at our hospitals. We will have an emergency room. There will be an operating room lab. We will have central sterile processing. There is a sleep lab. And all those things would be great for our students, but probably the most unique feature of this new building is that we will have an expanded simulation lab where students will be able to utilize and practice their skills on life-size mannequins that have their own vital signs. They're able to respond to treatment that our students give to them. They can actually talk and say ouch if they do something that may not be so good. But what's great in this facility is that our nurses can practice on a mannequin before they practice on us as patients. So this is going to give them a more realistic learning environment so that they are exceptional when they go out into the workforce and work in our hospitals. So now another facility that we have in the city of McKinney, this is at 75 and 121, is our Collin Higher Education Center. This is a place where we do have a lot of our central administration for the college, but we also have dedicated the first 2 floors to university partners. And in this facility, we have students that come and take university classes to finish baccalaureate degrees. This building was opened about 5 years ago, and it was built with the help of the city of McKinney and the McKinney Economic Development Center. So both the land and the ability to build a parking garage to accommodate our student enrollment there. We really appreciate that and thank McKinney. So this past year, our enrollment topped 3,300 university students. And in the next slide, this is the list of all of our partner universities that currently offer courses at that university center. And so we have partnerships and articulation agreements for the various baccalaureate degrees that are offered there, where the student comes in, they take the first 2 years and finish an associate degree with Collin, transfer right into these universities, and can finish a bachelor's degree in 16 different degree programs right here in McKinney. These universities also offer currently 8 different graduate programs, so there are master's and doctoral degrees offered at this facility as well. So the biggest benefit is that students have better accessibility to higher education here in McKinney, but it also makes it very more affordable for our students. So just as an example, if a student comes to Collin and starts at Collin paying only $37 a credit hour, they can finish a 2-year degree for $2,400. So it's a very affordable way to start your education, move and transfer, not necessarily move physically, but transfer on to a university. And university tuition is about $10,000 a year for public Texas institutions. Varies a little bit, but UNT is about $10,000 a year. So when a student completes, they paid less than $24,000 for a full baccalaureate degree. And that's a savings of almost $20,000 by starting their education at Collin College. So what's important is that on average, students across the country finish their baccalaureate degree with an average indebtedness of $29,000. So by participating in one of these partnerships that we have at the Higher Education Center, students will complete with less than the average debt of most college graduates. And what that does is it allows our students to have less debt. They can probably afford to buy a car sooner. They can afford to buy a house sooner. They afford to start a family sooner. And what that does, it helps contribute to the growth and vitality of our own community. So there is a very economic advantage of having Collin College in our community, especially in McKinney. And the last year, Collin College embarked on looking at the economic impact that having a college, a community college in this area does for the economy. And this study showed that nearly $500 million is the economic impact of Collin College. And even more so, the return on investment is significant. For every dollar that is invested by a student, a taxpayer, or a community member, this is the return on investment back. So it is a significant impact on our economy. Now, as we look to the future, Collin College continues. We're not done building in McKinney. So we have yet another project on deck, and we are working with and partnering with the City of McKinney, and this is the vision of our city manager, Tom Mueller-Beck, as well as Mayor Loftmiller, had the vision that we both, the Collin College and the city, want to enhance our public safety training facilities in McKinney. So by combining our resources, we are able to build something bigger and better for our first responders. So in this new public safety training center, we will have facilities for both our law enforcement officers and our firefighters, our current staff, as well as our future students that we're training at Collin. There will be a simulated shoot house for our law enforcement to practice some of their tactics, as well as a 5-story and a 2-story live burn tower, a live fire burn tower, so that when we have emergencies here in McKinney, we are going to have very well-trained first responders. And finally, as we even look further into the future, Collin College is we embarked on creating a master plan for where we need to go as a college way into the future. And on this map that you see, all those circles is about 12, it's a 12-mile radius around our major campuses in Frisco, McKinney, and Plano. And 12 miles, or about 20 minutes, is really as far as students want to drive to go to college. And we do have commuter-type campuses at the community college, but if you look, there's a big part of our county, especially on the east side, that we're not serving very well at this time. Those students have to drive much further to get to a campus. And part of our strategic plan is to look at what is the student demand in every corner of our county, what are the needs of our workforce as we now and into the future, as well as what are those career paths that students graduating from the McKinney high schools are looking for at the post-secondary level once they graduate high school. That is what Collin College has to deliver to our constituents and all of our communities throughout the county. And that's what we're looking at in our master planning. Where do we need to build? What programs do we need? And when do they need to be there? So this master plan is really preparing Collin to be and serve all students 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future. So as I sum up, I want to put kind of Collin College's mission into perspective, because it's all about the students and making sure that they reach their educational goals. So this is a quote from one of our alumni. His name's Brian. We'll protect the innocent and not give his last name. And this is what he wrote. I wasn't a rich man, so I had to work before and during college. I worked doing manual labor with a sledgehammer for 2 years and traveled all over the US. You get extremely hot, cold, and tired. While I was in school doing homework until 2 a.m., I thought about the sledgehammers and how I did not want to run them anymore. One day, I asked my graphic design professor if I could see his portfolio, and he said, "You guys are my portfolio." That is the stuff you hear on greeting cards, but that is how it is at Collin College. Those kind of things change your life. And Collin College does change lives. The college is here to serve students no matter where they are in their education, whether they were the top graduate at a high school, whether it's an adult returning and needs some remediation before starting their college-level classes, or if it's somebody who just wants to learn the most high-tech technology to be better at their job. That is what we do as a college. And Collin is the best place for any of those students to start. So I thank you for your time and for having us here today to give you more information.
Thank you again, Dr. Keel. Our next speaker will be Dr. Rick McDaniel. Dr. McDaniel has been in public education for 28 years. He started out in Tyler working as an instructor and a coach at Robert E. Lee High School. And then he decided to go into administration and worked his way up through the ranks there and eventually became the principal at Robert E. Lee. And in 2005, I know I was a member of the school board at that time, we had the distinct pleasure of naming Rick McDaniel to be the new principal at Boyd High School. So he moved here with his family, and he did a tremendous job there. Again, I think it's hard to understand sometimes the amount of work and the amount of organization that goes into creating a new high school. Boyd High School has 3,000 students, so you're hiring all those teachers, all those coaches, putting together all of the uniforms and the band uniforms and soccer uniforms and everything that goes along with it. It's a major undertaking, and he did it very well. The school did amazing things, and since it's been open, both academically, athletically, and in the arts, and they've had lots of awards. I know when I would go into the school and at that time and talk to teachers, there was a genuine love for Rick and the work that he was doing. He's well respected, and I think that's something that speaks volumes. And last year, the current school board agreed, and they named him as our new superintendent of schools here in McKinney. So I'll just kind of make it brief, but Rick, I appreciate personally all that you've done here for the school district, and I'd like all of you to help welcome Dr. McDaniel to the stage.
Good afternoon. What an introduction. I very much appreciate that, Mr. Poole. I'm honored and I'm humbled to have an opportunity to stand before you today and just kind of give you a small glimpse of all the magnificent things that McKinney ISD not only has going for it right now, but that we are planning for our near future and our extended future. I'm also proud to say that it is my feeling that our district owes it to our constituents, our community, to provide a first-class organization. Now, let me tell you what that means. For the last year, and I'm approaching now a year, it's hard to believe, in this role. For the last year, I have used the term first-class organization in just about every speech that I've ever given in front of the cabinet, in front of the teachers, and the reason I use that is because, in my opinion, being a leader of an organization the size of McKinney ISD is really, it's not rocket science, okay? I mean, I know what our constituents desire. It's the same thing that they desire of our city leaders. And what they want are really three things. They want an exceptional academic environment. They want human capital that represents the highest quality faculty and staff possible. They also want state-of-the-art learning environments and facilities. That's what they want. Now, my job as leader of this district is to make sure we have structures in place and monetary availability to make these things happen. And so what I want to share with you today is this. I want to talk about high academic expectations first, and then I'm going to move down to those other two areas and kind of give you a glimpse into what we're thinking in terms of our future. But let me talk about high academic expectations first. When we talk about our high academic expectations, they go way beyond test scores, and please let me repeat that. Okay? Test scores are important, and I understand that. And everyone in our district understands that that is a measuring stick that we all use to measure the success of our schools. But that single measure alone does not define a district as a whole. So we want kids to find something that they are passionate about and that will inspire them to learn. And that's how we engage their higher level thinking. We felt that our students could best talk about our academic expectations through a short video. So I'm going to show you a quick video, and then I'm going to come back and kind of wrap this up after the video is over. So if you'll just pay attention for about 3 to 5 minutes.
I'm so excited, like seriously my hands tremble every time I get to start talking about it, and my palms get a little sweaty. And the people in the hospital that I got to meet and the patients that I made bonds with, it makes me super excited to do this in the future.
Probably one of the most important things that I've learned as an engineer, or as learning to become an engineer, is not discounting all the crazy brainstorming ideas, because they actually may come to fruition.
I love the problem-solving aspect of it. Finding the real-world application to like the math and sciences. The hard problems are always the most rewarding in the end.
We get to work directly with the parts, we get to design, we get to innovate and create our own machine that does what we want it to do. And there's really no restrictions to what we can do besides a size restriction and what we can think of.
When I was about 5, I went to the Houston Space Center, and I found that I could do something with space. So that was definitely kind of the start. I could actually do something with space and the sky and what I wanted.
Understanding the concept behind it is so much fun. Knowing I made that happen. What can I do to make it better? How did they get that to happen? Learning from others and captivating that and seeing if you can apply it to a different scenario, a different situation.
Best part of the day is probably coming out here. Leaving school, coming out here for the last hour and a half, 2 hours, and even staying later after school only because I love it.
Ever since I was little, I was curious as to how planes were able to fly. And so when I found out that McKinney offers this, I decided to join so I could figure that out.
I just see it as I want to learn everything about it, about the whole industry. I want to learn how to be the mechanic. I want to learn how to fly every single type of plane, you know, multi-engine, single-engine, turboprop, jet, even all those. I see it as a challenge now to see how many steps I could hit.
Educators share something in common, and that is that they want their children to have a passion for learning. And so you have to consider what makes children want to learn. So oftentimes when we ask students, what do you enjoy learning about the engaged learning model? And they respond like, it's fun, I got to think, it's challenging, and I was able to learn what I wanted to learn. And so that's the key. Somehow that teacher was able to design and facilitate the learning through the L model that really sparked and gave access to students and their passion and curiosity.
In addition to innovative academic programs, students maximize learning when they have access to state-of-the-art resources and facilities. The McKinney community has a long history of supporting school bond programs, which have paved the way for the construction of safe and secure schools throughout McKinney ISD. The 2011 bond program is nearing completion and included a $46 million transformation of McKinney High School. As a result of the bond, McKinney ISD also renovated and expanded both Dowell and Fabian middle schools.
I think it levels the playing field that when you have a fantastic facility, that right away puts parents at ease and even potentially new staff members, where we can talk about culture and climate all we want, but if they don't see it, it's hard for them to feel it. And so when you have a facility like this, I don't have to say a word where automatically I feel like I get the benefit of the doubt from potential new hires or potentially new students and their families.
The 2011 bond also included technology and much needed safety enhancements, like the addition of security vestibules at campus entrances and a new one-to-one laptop initiative at the high schools. The final phase of the bond will be completed this summer and includes renovations and additions to McKinney North High School, as well as Malvern Elementary and Reuben Johnson Elementary. The combination of rigorous academic programs, excellent facilities, and most importantly, exceptional teachers make it an exciting time to be a part of McKinney ISD. As McKinney ISD continues to move forward, it will plan for continued growth and prepare its students for the future.
Can I just give a special thank you to Cody Cunningham and his office. Cody's back there. Carla Schumacher works in his office for putting that video together. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. Now, as you see, what I said is true. So much more than test scores, right? I mean, I look at business owners in this community, and I talk to them, and they say what they need are students that come prepared to be problem solvers. They need students that leave high school with an opportunity to be successful in a career, maybe right out of high school, maybe not even going to college first. Our job is to prepare them to go to college if they desire, but if not, to be successful in the workforce when they leave our district. That is our job. I believe in that wholeheartedly. So it is so much more than test scores. But you know what leads to high test scores and high academics is a commitment to human capital. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but the areas around us are growing rapidly just as we are. And what that means is that when you look to the west and you see a district like Frisco, who's building a school a week primarily, seems like it, and you think about the fact that they have to staff fully all of the different programs, many of which we just mentioned up here, human capital and our focus on getting those best teachers to McKinney is of the utmost importance. It is also something that becomes much more attractive when you have the third piece of this puzzle, and that is the finest of educational facilities that you can have. One of the things that attracted me to McKinney back in 2005 when I came here was this brand new shiny building they call McKinney Boyd High School. Now, I left a school in Tyler, Texas that was the hubbub of East Texas, Tyler Lee High School, been there since 1958. We thought that school had everything you could possibly need until I came to McKinney and saw the commitment to the facility that I was about to try to be the principal of. Thank goodness I made that move, because I moved into a community that very much shares the vision that I have, and that is that we have to have the absolute best of facilities for many, many different reasons. But here's the number one reason. Our community not only expects it, they deserve it. And our students deserve it. So when you look at the three different items that we focus on as we move forward with McKinney ISD, exceptional academic environment, the highest quality faculty that we can get, and state-of-the-art learning facilities, we know that all of that comes with a price, doesn't it? It comes through the commitment of our district to try to get out and recruit and do the best we can to get high-quality faculty and administrators to this district. It also comes through us asking our voters to help us whenever we need facility improvements. In the very near future, we're going to be asking our voters for that. Why? Again, because our community not only expects it, they deserve it, as well as our kids. Now today, we're going to hear a lot about what our community and what we hope our community is to become. McKinney ISD is going to play a significant role in that. I'm confident of it. Now, whether or not we can attract businesses, educate a future workforce, continue to attract families to McKinney, is all going to be incumbent upon our ability to work together. Businesses, city leaders, district leaders, all of us working together towards a common goal, to make McKinney the best city it possibly can be, to attract these individuals that could otherwise make a choice to go somewhere else, to attract them here to McKinney. That is why it's important that we have that same vision that McKinney leaders had 10 and 15 years ago when they decided to pour facilities into this city like I just described. I have that same vision, and I hope to be here for a long time to see it happen. In order to accomplish this, we're going to continue our focus on academics, hiring great teachers, and building state-of-the-art facilities. But I want to also be known that we have another focus in McKinney ISD, and this is the last thing I want to leave you with, okay? Teddy Roosevelt once said that character is, in the long run, the decisive factor in the life of individuals and nations alike. And I would argue that that also stretches to communities as well. We can have the finest schools and curriculum, but we're not going to lose sight of the fact that education is much more than bricks and books and computers. It's working alongside parents to develop young people that are of high character and integrity. I realize that it's a tall order, but having worked as a principal and now superintendent at McKinney for the past decade and personally observing what's happening in our classrooms, I've never been more optimistic about where we're headed. I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on what's happening in McKinney schools. I want you to know how blessed I feel to be a part of this community and to serve as your superintendent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McDaniel. I get to introduce the last speaker of the day, Brian, and I'm going to say a few personal things for a minute. I won't try to embarrass you too bad, Brian. But my family moved here in 1992, and the first couple that we met when we moved here were Brian and Donna Lockmiller. That was before all the kids were born in the family. And you know, Brian and I became close friends eventually, law partners, and we would spend a lot of time together. I remember going out on a few of our runs back when we were doing that together and having a discussion about what we might be able to do to make a difference in the community. And I don't know if you remember those conversations, but we were talking about it, and Brian ended up going into Leadership McKinney, and after Leadership McKinney, served 2 terms on the McKinney City Council. And when he finished there, took on the responsibilities of mayor, and he's now been reelected to a 2nd term, which he has another year to go on. But Brian's done just a truly outstanding job. You know, on a personal note, I mean, I've been here through a few mayors, and I think Brian's done, you see him everywhere. You know, he's truly community oriented, and I truly appreciate that. So Brian, I'd like to have you come up here, give you my, introduce my friend and mayor of City of McKinney, Brian Lockmiller.
Thank you. Thank you all for staying. Appreciate it. You know, I'm going to go off script a little bit, Lisa. Yeah, see, I knew you'd like that. You know, because, when you said that we have a record crowd here today, I thought, I came up with a great idea, and I thought, hey, we could have a raffle, help us with one of our hangar projects at the airport. So, anyway, you didn't think I would do that, did you? I do have a couple things I want to say that are off script, and just a couple of public service announcements. And the first one is, I really am truly proud of the people that we have here in McKinney and our residents, and especially our kids and the people at the school district, and I talked to Rick a lot about that. And we have one student, Maddie Davis, who is on The Voice on NBC. And they start these live rounds this next week, and so we all have to vote and everything. We did this before with American Idol, so I just encourage you all to continue to support Maddie and support, McKinney through her by actually, watching the show and voting. So that's my public service announcement for Maddie. The other thing I would like to say, and he doesn't know this is coming either, but, we have over the last several years been blessed in McKinney to have an interim city manager in Tom Muhlenbeck to help guide us, through some tough times and to guide us through growth. And, You know, as you all know, the word interim, you know, it's kind of loosely used right now. He's been here a while. But he is going to be going on to other things next year. And I thought, you know, since we do State of the Community every November, and ultimately this may happen over the course of the summer, I just wanted to personally thank Mr. Muhlenbeck for everything that you've done for the city of McKinney. And I just ask you all to recognize Tom Muhlenbeck for the job that he has done for us for the past 3 years. Thank you, Mr. Muhlenbeck. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what's been happening. And of course, kicking this off, and the program theme here is 10-year anniversary of Unique by Nature. And you know, when we embarked on the branding of the city, one of the things that we wanted to accomplish was a unified city identity that all entities could focus on and work with through a period of rapid growth. Because as you know, we did have rapid growth and are continuing to have rapid growth. And so one of the things we do is we've come up with this great brand, and it'll be continue to be our brand as we work through our annual report. And we're still focusing on growth in McKinney, because even though we've gone through recession and we've seen what's happened with that, even during that period we had growth in McKinney. And looking forward to the next year, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we have going on. First of all, as you all know, we have 3 new city council members, so I want to just again recognize them. We have, you know, Tracy and Chuck and Rainey here who have joined us on the council. And, you know, change is a good thing. It brings new ideas and new perspectives to our community, and it's a good thing that we have that. And we look forward to working with our new council members as we try to establish our strategic goals over the next year. The goals that we put on the board in City Hall are goals that we focus on. Our 6 goals are direction for strategic growth, operational excellence within our staff. We do want to maximize airport development. I kind of joked about that. We are still working on plans for the airport. We have corporate aviation out there, and we're going to continue to work towards a sustainable business model for our airport. Financially sound government. We want to enhance the quality of life in our downtown area, and of course, we want a safe and secure community. And through that, similar to what Dr. McDaniel talked about, you know, what does it take to do these things? Well, one thing it takes is capital. It takes the ability to raise capital to make sure that we're doing the best thing that we can for the community. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did with this most recent bond election that passed, and give you a little bit more information as to what we're doing going forward based on the outcome of that election. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Oh, we can go to the next slide. There we go. Now we're going backwards, but that's okay. You know, I can roll with it. There we go. Okay, so we have 5 propositions that passed. And the first proposition I want to talk about have to do mainly with streets and infrastructure. You know, one of the things that we've talked about in City Council, both our prior council and this council, is having a sustainable plan, a 10-year plan, as we build out to the north and northwest of McKinney. We came up with a 10-year CIP with the help of Mr. Muhlenbeck and his staff. And in that 10-year CIP, we have identified 25 road projects totaling about $100 million worth of streets, $100 million to fund those roads that we will be building over the next 10 years. And these are roads that are going to be absolutely necessary for the future growth and development of our city. We also have, you know, aging infrastructure in McKinney, and we, you know, a lot of people talk about aging infrastructure and what that means. Well, it's you know, some areas of McKinney, even though they're still considered new, whether, you know, for instance, Stonebridge Ranch, El Dorado, you know, those communities have been around for 25, 30 plus years, and that infrastructure is starting to age, and there are maintenance issues with that infrastructure. We also have an East Side Infrastructure Initiative that had started before I came on council that we continue to work on, and, you know, to date we have expended over $80 million in infrastructure improvements in East McKinney. And we will continue to do that as well. The projects in the package will also help us on economic development matters, because obviously now that 75 hopefully is going to be finished, you know, any day now. There you go. I got 1 million of them. But no, you know, And this is something, and I'm glad Commissioner Hill's here because we've talked with the county about this, and the county's very interested in this as well. If you look at the connectors through Collin County, we have a need for east-west connection from 75 to Custer to Lake Forest, all the way over to the Dallas North Tollway. So obviously we have to have a financial plan to put that infrastructure in place, and that's one of the things that we are doing through this bond proposition. And I'm probably getting ahead of my slides. The first proposition was $64 million. That is coupled with about $36 million from a prior bond election for roads. So let's go on to the next slide. Proposition number 3. $3 million for improvement and expansion of the McKinney Public Safety Building, and $19.5 million planned for 2 new fire stations. As we grow, obviously we want to continue to provide good public safety facilities. One of the things we look at is response time. Obviously, the ratings that we have, ISO ratings for insurance purposes, are based on response time, and we want to maintain a 4 to 5 minute response time, and that requires the construction of new fire stations. We currently have 8 fire stations in McKinney. The 9th fire station will be located along Lake Forest, north of 380, somewhere up around the Wilmouth Road area, where there is a lot of residential growth happening. Fire station number 10 will be located on city-owned property at Virginia and Hardin. The cost is about $7.5 million, and it's projected to be built in 2019. Fire station 11 will be built in 2025 in the Craig Ranch development at a anticipated cost of about $12 million. We currently have more than 400 employees occupying our public safety building daily to man operations for fire and police, administration, criminal investigation, emergency operations, and 911 dispatch. The final phase of our public safety building will add 50,000 square feet in addition to planning an indoor gun range, which I don't think they're going to let me go to, but we'll try. The 10-year plan operational budget accounts for staffing equipment for public safety, and I spoke to some second graders this year, actually last week at a school, and actually I had second graders asking me about taxes. It was amazing. And why do our parents have to pay taxes? And second grade, for those of you that are going to run for office in the future, it's getting harder. But anyway, ultimately, as I pointed out to them, when we build fire stations, it's not just about building a building, it's not just about buying fire trucks, it's also about staffing. It takes about 18 people to staff a new fire station, and that's what the taxes are used for. Next slide, Proposition 4, $11.7 million, and this is basically for the funding of 3 separate projects. We have $1.2 million for improvements to public facilities, for ADA compliance and accessibility, modifications of restrooms and drinking fountains. We also have a new design and construction and expansion for the John and Judy Gay Library. That proposed expansion will be 20,000 square feet. It will ultimately double the size of the library, which currently has more than 220,000 visitors this past year. And the last part of that proposition allocates $1 million for the design and construction of a facility to maintain the city's fleet, which is currently set at about 610 vehicles. Proposition number 6 includes $2 million in funding for dam improvements. This is, just a dam project to provide flood protection. A lot of people don't realize, but we have, in McKinney, we have 18 dams within our city and our extraterritorial jurisdiction, 7 of which have already been rehabilitated, and those costs are associated with the rehabilitation of other projects. Up to 65% of that money will ultimately be reimbursed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but ultimately it is the city's responsibility to maintain these lakes. And then, of course, Proposition 7 is the next one, and this is a little bit different. When we talked on council about bringing this proposition forward, there was a little bit of a challenge as to how you explain that you're going forward and asking people to vote to spend money, but then telling people we're going to take money away. But really, this is more of from a policy standpoint. We realize that a lot of our parks and recreation projects are being funded on a cash basis through our Community Development Corporation, the half-cent sales tax that was passed by our citizens for quality of life projects. And so we had decided that that's a good way to continue to fund those projects. And based on that, we had about $13 million in bonds that had been approved years ago parks project that, quite frankly, were probably not going to be sold. So we decided to go back to the voters and say, let us revoke those bonds, and we'll add capacity back to the city for future elections and future projects, and will help us sustain our AAA bond rating and the good financial policies that we have in the city. So the good thing is, we're saving money, and we're also not doing away with parks. We are going to continue to fund quality of life projects because, I think those projects do bring economic development to our community. Other milestones that we have in our city, 2015, we've broken ground on a aquatics and fitness center. It's a $34 million facility. We'll open December of 2016 we won't do a ribbon cutting, we'll do a lap swim with Ray Eckenrode and some of my friends. We've been waiting a long time to get this project off the ground, and it's great, and our Community Development Corporation deserves all of the credit in bringing this project forward. They worked hard on it. They worked on the planning. They worked on the funding and the financial model for it, and so I want to thank the Community Development Corporation for that. And really that brings back what Dr. McDaniel again said. These are all about partnerships. We have the CDC, the EDC, a number of boards that are city boards, but they are in partnership with us. We're in partnership with the school district to make things happen. The Aquatic Center will be located at Gabe Nesbitt Park, right next to the current PSA of McKinney, and so that's going to be a great 150-acre park when it's all done. Next slide. McKinney National Airport. Oh, that's not on my script. No, I'm just kidding. My next slide talks about 75, but we don't want to talk about that. No, McKinney National Airport is continuing to see business development out there. We're continuing to see a lot of traffic. Our airport successes include, in 2013, we had about 88,000 operations. 2014, about 97,000 operations out there. And this year, 108,000 operations. So we are seeing increased business and traffic out there. At the airport, we are seeing increases in fuel sales. We have, from a business model standpoint, the city has exceeded the pro forma that we had in place when we decided to do the airport acquisition, and we continue to see great things out there. We are currently in the process of constructing a new hangar for corporate aircraft, and we have plans for a second new corporate hangar in the next year to year and a half. We also have a master plan update that's set for the next year to prepare for the future. And of course, we most recently, in the last year or so, honored B.B. Cope by renaming the airport field after him. Looking to the future, we have a lot of things happening in McKinney, and we're really looking out 10 to 15 years. Yes, I am going to be gone in about a year and a half, but our city council is still here, and they're still planning, and we're going to continue to plan through a comprehensive plan update that we're doing right now. And the tagline that we've identified for that plan is One Community, One Vision 2040. This will be the first update that we have done to our city comprehensive plan since 2004. It's a statement of the community vision now and for the future. It will direct the city's growth and development with details and numbers of interrelated elements like land use, transportation, utilities, public services, and preservation of open space. We are having community meetings. Community input is a large part of this process. This process will probably take a year to a year and a half. We will have several community meetings. I encourage you all to participate. We have online surveys, and we have other means to get feedback on that vision. We have a Northwest sector study that we're doing in addition to the overall planning, and the Northwest sector study is really a targeted planning effort to really look at what we have north of 380 and west of 75 and the types of development that we see coming in the future, both from an economic development standpoint and residential growth. It encompasses over 30,000 acres of undeveloped land at the present time. And of course, given the transportation issues that we have and the infrastructure needs we have, that's going to be a big part of that planning as well. We also are focusing on our downtown area through our town center study. Certainly looking at development in the areas of the cotton mill and the flour mill, renovation of old buildings and construction, and using those to revitalize business. We also are looking at the expansion of the historic downtown. We had a presentation this Tuesday night on the 9-acre development that we're trying to get off the ground. The 9 acres is where the old courthouse used to be, which right now looks like a nice park where kids play soccer. But ultimately it will be developed. We are currently working with Robert Shaw and Columbus Realty. They gave a presentation on some plans that they have for that will include integrating that development into our historic downtown with addition of some residential, business and office development, and including bringing streets through to connect Chestnut Square back into our downtown square. We also have a retail strategy that we have started. We have contracted with a company called Retail Coach to identify areas of the city that will bring retail and restaurant potential to our community. And again, we are targeting areas along 380, 75, 121, our core business corridors, as well as looking at downtown and traffic patterns to bring quality retail into our community. And then last but not least, in terms of planning, we are currently undergoing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And this again includes the concept of regional parks, neighborhood school parks, just really trying to bring to the community what we believe is important from a quality of life standpoint in conjunction with our brand, Unique by Nature. So, just wrapping up, and I'm going to have a video here in a minute. You know, my concluding remarks, really, I sat back and kind of reflected on, you know, the past really 13 years for me from the standpoint of being in public service and then also working in the private sector here in McKinney. And we all have experienced rapid growth, and that growth has been exciting. It's also been challenging. And the city of McKinney has received numerous accolades for our hometown feel and local charm. You know, the #1 city in America last year, which quite frankly, we get to own for 2 years, so we still have it. But you know, with all of those accolades, we've also experienced a critical view from outside our community and from within our community. And we are constantly being measured against our sister cities in Collin County, as well as cities across the country who face similar challenges associated with the demands for increased services. We're challenged by the balance between growth, innovation, and changing landscape as we move from a small town to what will ultimately, get this, you need to think about it, McKinney will ultimately be one of the largest communities in the state of Texas from the standpoint of cities when we were a build-out. And we have to balance that against, you know, the comfort of our history and reliance on precedents and constriction and the things that we look at and when we start making decisions as a council or as a community and how we move forward. You know, how much do we rely on what we've done in the past, and what does that do in terms of what our effort is in moving forward in the future? You know, while we pursue an intentional effort to preserve our history and historic areas of our community, the balance also requires leadership to focus on progression, expansion, and development that will make McKinney competitive and economically viable. You know, oftentimes I'm asked, you know, and I know our council members have been asked, I'm sure a lot of you have been asked, you know, how is it that Frisco has the development that they have? How is it that Plano is getting the corporate development? How is Allen getting the retail development that they have? And, you know, I would answer that with a question to our community, which, quite frankly, is, are we willing to invest? Are we willing to invest in our community to bring those things to our community? Because that's what it takes. It takes an investment. We invested recently with this bond election in our roads and our infrastructure. We have to invest in growing our community. Successful cities create an image that gives them definition and a pathway to achieve that image. You know, what is the image that we want for McKinney? We say McKinney is unique by nature, but is McKinney truly unique? Is our image that of a diverse community with a mix of historic neighborhoods and planned communities? Is it a balance between industry, retail, office, residential development, or are we a bedroom community? Do we place a priority and focus on our topographical advantages that we have, our rolling hills and our natural buffers? As the only city in Collin County with a regional airport, do we seek to develop aviation in our city? And what priority do we place on public safety and maintaining a safe family environment through our community? As we focus on live, work, play issues that require emphasis on ease of mobility, proximity of the home to the workplace, educational and recreational opportunities outside of work, the challenges that we face are centered on giving definition to these issues, creating a plan, and being decisive and consistent in the application to achieve that plan. Over the next 10 years, we're going to see, as I mentioned, changes in our city management. We're going to see changes in our city leadership. Our population is going to almost double. As I said earlier, we have 30 to 32,000 acres of undeveloped land in the city of McKinney that will ultimately be in our city limits. I'm excited about the opportunities before us as we move beyond the next few years, and I'm excited about the opportunity to work with our new council members as we strive to provide that thoughtful, consistent leadership with the assistance of our stakeholders and community partners to set the future development for our city. McKinney First and One Community 2040 are not just catchphrases, they're not just taglines. They emphasize the goals of working together for the benefit of our city as a whole rather than pursuing individual goals. And second, we maintain a focus for the future as we reach our build out for our city. So I encourage, when you guys leave here, and we do this every year and I say it every year, but I really encourage you to be a partner with us. When you come to our meetings, if you have an opportunity to speak, we want you to speak. We want to know what you're thinking. Help us develop a plan. Help us work that plan, because it's going to take that partnership to continue to make McKinney the best place in America to live. And I do want to close with a video, and I just ask that you watch this video and celebrate some of our successes that we've had for the past 10 years. As we celebrate today, 10 years, McKinney, Texas, unique by nature. Thank you all very much.